I hate to pick up on it, but I'm going to just say it anyway. When he said, we live in a society where men and women are equal, how it always should have been, he immediately starts playing with his ear. Look, you can see it right there. It's made him nervous. Most probably because he doesn't fundamentally believe that. Habibi, before you enjoy this video, do your boy a solid. I've got a goal to hit 7,500 subscribers by the end of June. So like the video and subscribe the channel.
If your girlfriend wants to get married because it makes her more loyal, run. Hello guys and welcome back. Okay, so where do we start with this one? So the title of the video is Men Shouldn't Get Married. It could have been titled 100 different things. It's pretty similar, to be honest, to the video that I did on successful men should stay single for longer. And I'll leave a link to that in this video so that you can watch both if you're interested in the topic. But men shouldn't get married. This is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I know I'm not alone.
All right. Let's make a distinction here. When men say men shouldn't get married, particularly in the non-Muslim world, for the non-Muslims, and I make that distinction because marriage, if you're a non-Muslim, and even actually for Muslims for that matter, many Muslims are taking on a contractual obligation with the freaking government by having a registry marriage. But marriage, typically, for non-Muslims, is making a contract and agreement with the government. So when you hear men say, or gentlemen like this individual from First Man, I forget his name, that men shouldn't get married, what they're saying is men shouldn't get into a contractual agreement with the government, which I fundamentally agree with. I completely agree. The problem arises now when you carry forward this thinking and prohibit yourself from getting into any type of meaningful relationship with any woman. You see, because in certain countries, even cohabiting for 6 months plus, she will have rights over your wealth and so on. Canada as an example of that. So it puts men in this position whereby they are reluctant to get into a committed relationship of any sort. And this is a tragedy. Although I don't blame them, because they've worked so hard to amass what they have in terms of their wealth and so on. This is a tragedy because one of the most beautiful experiences you can have is being in a loving relationship with a woman. In fact, it reminds me of a video Ed Milet put up on his page.
I end up sitting next to Casey here. He just lost his wife of 35 years to COVID. He's heading to Mexico on a trip. He's a little bit conflicted. But what did you just tell me?
I just told you what I gathered out of this whole ordeal of being totally in love with my wife for 35 years. That one of the greatest gifts that God has given man is the love between a man and a woman. And when the woman looks at the man and you can feel the love, there's nothing better than giving and receiving love. Nothing better on earth.
I can't summarize it any better than how that man has summarized it. However, I understand the sentiment that a lot of guys on the internet are expressing today that, look, man, I understand. I want to get with a woman. I want to be with her. But number one, they're savages, many of them. And number two, they're going to strip the very thing I have worked so hard to accrue, which made me desirable in the first place. I've spoken about this at length in the past, the existential fight or battle, the battleground between a man trying to hold on to what makes him primarily attractive as best as possible, his resources, and a woman trying to hold on to what makes her primarily attractive on the sexual market, which is her chastity or her lack of sexual experiences. For the most part, obviously, I understand deen, religion, all of that trumps everything. But you understand what I'm saying. It's hard for a man to look past a woman who's got a body count of 50, bruv, even if she's flipping practicing. Do you understand?
But we're in a generation now where people in general are questioning a lot more than they used to. So people are saying this isn't acceptable, I'm not having this, why should it be this way, why can't I create my own job, I don't want to be a plumber, maybe I can just film myself playing video games on YouTube and make 10 million a year. Entirely possible in this generation.
Yes, possible, but improbable. And it's very important that I stress that point. Okay, it's really important that I stress that point. Whenever we see someone breaking through and doing it, everyone automatically believes that they are also the special snowflake who will break through and do it. Now, I'm not trying to promote nihilism. I'm not trying to promote the idea of not trying. No, try to become that guy. But understand, the only reason why you have heard of that guy's name who makes 10 million a year from streaming on YouTube is because there's only one of him, or a handful. That's why you heard of him. So my point is, like, you need to have another plan in the interim, right? By all means, go for it. Strive. I'm not promoting a nihilistic message, a message of hopelessness. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just simply saying we have to be careful with these apex fallacies. It's actually quite a feminine thing to do. And I'm not accusing the gentleman here of being feminine at all. I'm just simply saying it's an argument that a lot of females use. Oh, I know my friend, and she had 15 baby daddies, and she still married a high-value man. All right, Bev, safe.
One of those points that sprung up a lot that thousands, millions, probably millions of guys are speaking about is, I think a lot of us have come to the conclusion that marriage is kind of pointless. So I ask this question to people all the time, and I never oppress my views on people, but the question that I always ask when it comes to marriage is, what are the benefits of marriage? Like, what is the plus points to getting married? And the best answer I've had so far from one person was that if you want that woman to have your kids and stay at home and look after them, then you should give her some financial security. I thought that was okay. That's not a bad reason. Except women don't stay home and do that anymore. The majority of women want to go back to...
I'll answer that question. And now this video is 2 years old, so I'm not sure what the gentleman from First Man, what his views are on this discussion now, but I'll answer that question. It's very easy. The purpose of marriage is not for you. The purpose of marriage is not for her, your wife. It's for the children. Children are best raised, they are raised most wholesomely in a two-parent household environment. And marriage ensures, or I should say, it provides further motivation for both parties, mum and dad, to stay together. That's all it does. Now, I'm not going to go down the religious route. As Muslims, there is no way for a man to be with a woman except through nikah, which is loosely translated as marriage. Okay? But generally speaking, the purpose of marriage is not for you, and it's not for her. It's not for you to ensure that she can stay at home and she's more likely to be loyal to you. That's all secondary. The purpose of marriage is so that you can perpetuate the species, human beings, and raise them in as wholesome a manner as possible. That's the purpose of marriage.
I don't know if that's true actually, but a lot of women want to go back to work. I wouldn't say it's the majority, but a lot want to go back to work. We live in a society now where women are equal, as it always should have been. And, you know, women are expected or...
It's very interesting. I hate to pick up on it, but I'm going to just say it anyway. When he said, we live in a society where men and women are equal, how it always should have been, he immediately starts playing with his ear. Look, you can see it right there. It's made him nervous. Most probably because he doesn't fundamentally believe that. Men and women are not equal. We were never meant to be equal. We're not equal. That's it. We have equity, but we don't have equality. We have different roles. All right? The CEO is superior to the director of the company. They're not equal. The CEO has an overwhelming say in the direction of the company. Period. Here's what it is. So no, we were never meant to be equal. And it's interesting to see him playing with his ear nervously because I think deep down he knows that. But at this moment in time, he didn't quite know how to articulate it, shall we say.
Would prefer to go and earn as much money as the men, you know.
Still playing with the ear.
Why can't the man stay at home? Why can't we pay for someone to look after them? All these points are raised now. So that was if that's the best answer I've ever had, and that was only one person, it's a little worrying. Because some of the worst answers I've had, which is 99.9% of them, is that, oh, you know, it's just what you do. It just feels right. I want the kids to have the same last name as us. Okay. You know, it's just nice, isn't it? You know, and everybody does this thing where they go, you know, it's just like, well, you know, it's just marriage. You know, it's just something that you do, and everybody waffles the Disney pitch. And I've said this for years. It's a Disney thing that's been created in Hollywood of You know, that here's what happens, right? I grew up watching all these films. I would be too young to decide what to put on TV. My dad would be out working, and he used to work away a lot. And my mum and sister used to put these movies and films on maybe on the weekend that were female orientated. And I remember it would be like the Olsen twins or some soft shit. And the parents, I can't remember the film, but like people would get married or whatever. It doesn't have to be that film, but people would get married, and that would be the final scene. So things would go good, and they'd get really bad, and then they'd end off with a good, like a great story. And it was always, and they lived happily ever after, or the number plate, happily ever after, you know, some shit like that, happily married. And then it cuts, and we never get to see what really happens. We don't get to see that. Used to be 40% of marriages end in divorce. I would say that's up to about 50-60% now. And the only reason the statistic isn't in the 70s and 80s is because people cheat and some people are scared to split. Secondly, you've got a lot more people of the Islamic faith living in the UK and America now, and places like Canada, Australia.
Man, you can tell that this video was taken ages ago, because the gentleman, he creates much higher quality videos now in terms of his articulation and understanding of this side of the internet, shall we say, or this discussion in general, masculinity and so on. Muslims make up like 2% of the population in the UK, bro. It's negligible. Or maybe it's 4% now. It's totally negligible. That's not the reason. But I will say to you this. I will pose this question to you. All right, let's say I agree that, you know, the drawbacks of marriage outweigh the benefits. So then what else then? What are you going to do? What else? You know, there's a great Jordan Peterson video that was sent to me this morning. In fact, you know what? Have a look at this.
I feel like I'm doing quite well in my career, but I still have pressures. People who are saying, you know, when are you actually going to succeed properly by having a baby? Yeah. I kind of find that slightly offensive. I'm 38. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've got through my early 30s without almost luckily, when I look at what my friends have to deal with their children, I almost feel a little bit blessed. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say that it starts to get pretty lonesome in life after 45 if you don't have a family, you know, and so it's easy to consider the utility of an intense career, and like you have a very high quality career too, you know, that's something that marks you out from let's say more typical people, and perhaps that's worth more of a sacrifice. But you're going to live till you're 90 in all likelihood, and it's not easy to consider your life across its entire span.
Now, I know Jordan was speaking to a woman, addressing a woman, but the same can be said to a man. Life gets lonely without children. It gets lonely after 45 without kids. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I have been blessed to have had many children from a young age. I had 3 kids by 19. I've got 8 children now and counting, inshallah ta'ala. I want to have 20. That's not a joke. I'm serious. If Allah permits me and blesses me, I would like to have 20 children, inshallah. That's my aim. I met a brother just the other day. Beautiful Somali brother. I had to stand up and salute my guy. Came over from Somalia. He's a businessman. Came over to UK to do some business, but he lives in Somalia. The most unsuspecting gentleman in the world you've ever met. Beautiful smile, pleasant aura, but you'd never suspect that. My guy has 3 wives, all right, that's not a big deal, and 20 children, bruv. You understand? 20, and he's only 40. I said, bro, I'm 32. I feel like I'm slacking right now. He's like, brother, in Somalia, I have no problem with my wives. That's not his accent. He actually, I don't know why I'm doing that. He had a perfect English accent because he was raised in the UK. My point is, it's beautiful, man. Seeing your progeny, seeing yourself duplicated in a slightly different way. I can't explain how beautiful that is. Seeing yourself duplicated in a slightly different way. You can see your flaws in the child. You can see where the child excels in certain areas better than you do. You can see what he's taken from you and what he's taken from his mum, and how he is uniquely different from you and from his mum. It's amazing. Why would you want to deprive yourself of that? I already know your answer. I get it. I understand the law and so on and so forth. then I say tie up your camel, find ways to protect your resources, and still go ahead and have a family anyway. Whether that's through marriage or not is a different story. For us as Muslims, it has to be through nikah, which is loosely translated as marriage. And as I mentioned, the purpose of marriage is to ensure man and woman stay together, to increase the chances of providing a positive upbringing for the children that they have.
Got people, you've got a lot of Indian people who stick together, and you've got these cultures where even if they're not happy with each other, they just stick together anyway. You know, and we've got so many more diverse cultures living in these.
This is just not true as well. Feminism, unfortunately, has penetrated the Muslim world as much as it has penetrated the Western world. In fact, it was Brother Gabriel who mentioned on a debate me and him had that he was speaking to one of the shuyukh in the Middle East. He didn't mention which country, just said the Middle East. And he said the women are asking for khul. Khul means when a woman requests a divorce. So there's two types of divorce. Talaq, for the uninitiated, is when a man divorces a woman, and a khul is when a woman seeks divorce from a man. And he said the women are seeking khul like they changed their slippers. In fact, Coach Kareem mentioned to me that in the Arab world, I can't remember which countries he was referring to specifically, that divorce rates have reached 80 to 90%. And the vast majority of them are being initiated by women. This is a cancer that is affecting everyone, not just the West.
These other areas of the world, like the UK and America, that I think it's holding the statistic up. Because honestly, I think if it was just white and black people, I think it would be about 80% of marriages end in divorce. Because let's be honest, people aren't supposed to stay together that long. We kind of force ourselves after a while. And, you know, you see the fact that...
I would love for the gentleman to elaborate on that statement and what he meant by that. People aren't supposed to stay together that long. What do you mean, bro? Please explain that. You're welcome to make a response video to this one. Please explain what you mean. People are not meant to stay together that long. I don't understand. Why? Why not? Why not?
Currently, with current data, I believe it's 40% of marriages will end in divorce at some point. And you just think to yourself, what is the point?
I want to add at this point right now, because as I was editing this video, it just occurred to me. He mentions, what's the point in getting married if 40% of them fail? And yet, that one dude who's making $10 million a year from streaming on YouTube, that's a worthy aspirational goal to strive for and aspire to. I ask you logically, if there's a 40% chance of your marriage failing, which means there's a 60% chance of your marriage not failing, and then on the flip side, there is a 0.0000001% chance of you becoming this streamer who's making $10 million a year, which one logically makes more sense to pursue? The one where you have a 60% chance success rate, or the one where you have a 0.1001% chance of success? And this speaks to a fundamental flaw in human nature, a quirk of human nature. Dan Ariely mentions it, points it out in his book Predictably Irrational, which is behind me there in the bookcase. And that is, the less likely something is to happen, the more we bank on it happening. So please be aware of your quirks, the slight malfunctions, brain malfunctions that we are all predisposed to as human beings, because this is one of them.
And this is what these films never showed, is what happens afterwards. That marriage probably went on to be, you know, to just break down and have a divorce. They probably have money problems. They probably argued 24/7. He probably got on her nerves. She probably really got on his nerves. You know, he went to the pub, stayed out late, he got home, she accused him of cheating. Like, all these issues that get bundled into it that you don't see outside of the film.
So far, all I hear are selfish reasons as to why man and woman shouldn't get married. I'm not sure if the gentleman addresses it further on in the video, because we're not going to have time to go through all of this. But the main reason why a man in the West particularly shouldn't consider marriage, a contract with the government, is to protect his resources. I haven't heard that from the gentleman yet. If that's his main reason, then he should have stated it, or indeed would have stated it at the beginning of this video. Clearly that's not on the forefront of his mind, and I can only conjecture. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe he forgot. I don't know. But it's not on the forefront of his mind, in which case all of these other reasons are just selfishness. It's just selfishness. That's all it is. He annoyed her, she annoys him, they don't get on all the time, rah-de-da-de-da. That's life. What are you going to do with your kids once they start annoying you? This is why we have a depopulation crisis. To quote Elon Musk, that depopulation is the current #1 threat to the perpetuation of the human species at this moment in time. Why do you think my man's got 8 children, bruv? 8 kids Elon Musk has and counting. Because depopulation is the #1 threat. You know, one of the biggest tragedies is when you find a man, a wealthy man, who's done very well for himself and has accrued wealth and money, and he's got 1 kid, 2 children, bruv. That's disgraceful. If you intentionally shut it off or cut it off after 1 or 2 when you could have had more, that's a disgrace. What was the point? Just shout out to Jeff Bezos with his 1 son, hacking up with another single mum, career predator woman. Bruv, you're the richest man in the world. You should have like 50. What's going on?
So all these girls, all these women have grown up as girls adoring marriage. And a few guys did too, but mainly women, you know, because it got idolized. And they saw, it's kind of in the same way that a lot of us saw Rocky films, and I'm sure a lot of people wanted to be boxers, or, you know, in that sort of sense. Or everybody wanted to be Zach from Saved by the Bell, or everybody wanted to be the Fonz, or everybody wanted to be the guy from Grease at some point. You know, there's always these icons. Well, with women, their only icons for about 60 years was the woman who got married, the pretty woman who got married. And that's what they grew up watching. And they idolize it so strongly. When I have this debate with women about why they want to get married, it's that whole kerfuffle about, well, you know, it's just nice, it's what you should do, and it makes somebody more loyal. Guys, listen. If your girlfriend wants to get married because it makes her more loyal, run.
Women, first of all, are terrible at articulating their thoughts and emotions. They know what they're feeling. They're good with sensing and picking up things, tacit emotions, but they're not good. In fact, they're terrible at articulating that with words. That's where men excel. Okay? Let me tell you why a woman wants marriage for you to be more loyal. Let me explain why. Because the consequences of a sexual relationship with you are greater for her than they are for you. She's the one who bears the child. She's the one who has to give birth to the child. She's the one whose body is forever, permanently altered for the worse, not better, after having born your child. She's the one who breastfeeds the child. She's the one who wakes up in the middle of the night with the child, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran mentions. حملت بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم حملته أمه وهنا على وهن. And his mother bore him hardship upon hardship. That's why. That's why she wants you to feel like you're more loyal towards her. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have multiple women on your roster. As a Muslim, that would be multiple wives. I'm not saying any of that. I'm simply saying there is a reason. That's the reason. Alright guys, if you enjoyed that video, hit the like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Jazakallah khair. And if you have any video recommendations that you want me to react to, you can email them to me. The email is in the description. You'll find it there. Send them over to me and I might just make a video reaction. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
نار نار سنفجرها برصاصنا نمحوها العار.